Eagerly waiting to hear the fourth Giridhar Memorial Lecture from our chief guest, Professor Darshan Shankar. I now call upon Giri's Chitti, Kala Chandrasekhar, General Manager and Company Secretary, Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited, Mumbai, to introduce Professor Darshan Shankar to all of us. Kala.
Good evening, all. I am indeed privileged to announce and introduce the speaker of the day, the highly accomplished Padma Shri Anand Darshan Shankar. Padma Shri Anand Darshan Shankar is fondly referred to as modern age yogi in various fora for his lifelong effort in promoting local health traditions. He has established the nation's finest institution for revitalizing the local healthcare traditions, and his lifelong quest in reforming educational system has led to establishment of the Transdisciplinary University, TDU, in Bangalore. Padma Shri Anand Darshan Shankar started his career very early at the age of 23 when he joined the University of Mumbai with a strong purpose to reform our educational system. There, he designed a postgraduate experiential learning program that won a Commonwealth Award in 1976 for being the best program in the Commonwealth for linking university education to community needs. After working at the University of Mumbai from 1973 to 1980, he lived and worked for 12 years till 1992 in a tribal district in Maharashtra on projects related to application of science and technology for tribal development. In 1993, he moved to Bangalore, where along with Sam Pitroda, he founded the Foundation for Revitalization of Local Health Traditions, FRLHT, and later the Transdisciplinary University, TDU. During the last 25 years, FRLHT TDU has inspired research and outreach in the field of Ayurveda biology, a new transdisciplinary domain that combines systemic perspectives of Ayurveda with the molecular approaches of biology. Padma Shri Anand Darshan Shankar has won several national and international awards like Commonwealth Award, Normal Borlaug Award for contributions to conservations of wild populations of medicinal plants, Columbia University's International Award for complementary and alternative medicine. In recognition of Anand Darshan Shankar's pioneering work in promoting integrative health sciences, he was awarded the Padma Shri by the Government of India in 2011. He has occupied several important positions, chief among them being Advisor, Planning Commission, Government of India, Member, National Biodiversity Authority, Government of India, Member, National Wildlife Board, Government of India, Member, Executive Board of Global Initiative for Traditional Systems, Oxford, UK, Member, Independent Commission on Development and Health in India, New Delhi, Convener, Working Group on Traditional Health Sciences of the National Knowledge Commission, Government of India, Member, International Expert Group to advise PM's Office, Government of Malaysia on development of herbal sector, Member, Research Council, Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, Karnataka, Member, International Expert Group set up by International Union of Conservation of Nature and WWF Germany and WHO on standards for sustainable harvest of medicinal plants. Ladies and gentlemen, I now invite the modern age yogi, the guru of traditional healthcare and medicine, Padma Shri Anand Darshan Shankar, to share his knowledge with us.
Thank you, Mrs. Kala. We now request Professor Darshan Shankar to deliver the fourth Giridhar Memorial Lecture. Professor Darshan Shankar.
Evening, everybody. Thank you for those very kind words of introduction. I am deeply appreciative of the spirit, the noble outlook of Paropkar and the activities of the Giridhar Rehabilitation and Care Endowment, I think rightly acronymed as GRACE, which has been inspired by the vision of the late Giridhar. I believe that this vision of a healthy world for all is really in line with the vision of Indian sages. We are all familiar with this verse, Loka Samastha Sukhi No Bhavantu. This vision echoes this particular vision that is part of the Indian tradition. It is indeed very unusual and remarkable of the family to demonstrate such enormous social commitment, and therefore I feel privileged and honored to have the opportunity to deliver this memorial lecture. Healthcare really implies a focus on both the mind and the body. Any strategy for health for all must focus on both the mind and body. In biomedical sciences, we are aware of the phenomena of psychosomatic conditions, connection between the mind and the body. And in earlier times, this was not much emphasized, but today we realize more and more the tremendous effect of the mind on the body. In Ayurveda, of course, this was realized centuries ago. And you have a verse in the Ashtang Hridayam which starts with two words, Raghadi Rogan. Raghadi means the afflictions of the mind cause Rogan, a whole spectrum of diseases. Yoga is indeed India's gift to its own people and to the world for achieving mental equilibrium. In Chennai, I think we are fortunate to have one of the finest centers for yoga therapy, the Krishnamachari Yoga Mandiram. And this is a center which really promotes what is called individualized yoga. That's how it should be, because there is so much variability in people that you cannot have uniform package of yoga practices for everybody. And the great yogi Krishnamachari, who moved to Chennai, and of course who was originally from Chennai, used to serve the Maharaja in Mysore, established the Krishnamachari Yoga Mandiram, which I think is the only yoga institute in the country which promotes authentic, individualized yoga. Now, to visualize a disease-free or a healthy world, we must understand what is health. There is no substantive definition of health in mainstream biomedical sciences. Although globally we refer to national systems as healthcare systems, in fact, they are all systems for management of disease. We have nothing in biomedicine which focuses on building innate immunity. We have strategies for adaptive immunity, which is immunity towards a specific pathogen. So, for example, for COVID, they're now looking for a vaccine, but this vaccine is not going to provide general immunity. It will only provide, if it works effectively, it will only provide immunity for COVID. But for innate immunity, which is general immunity, related to health, related to wellness, mainstream medicine has no really answer. In Ayurveda, we have a very profound word for health. This is the word swasthya. Swasthya, the word means to be sthit in swa, to be established in oneself. That is the definition of health, to be in equilibrium with oneself, to be established in oneself. And such a sophisticated word, swasthya. And of course, this word is elaborated. That swasthya means samadosha, equilibrium of the physiological functions, samadhatu, equilibrium of all the body tissues, sama agni, equilibrium of the metabolism, sama malakriya, equilibrium in the excretory function, and of course, prasanata of the indriyas, the manas, and the atman. We also have very sophisticated knowledge of what we call rasayanas. Rasayanas can be behavior that, rasayana means something that opens up blocked channels of rasa, ayanas, the channels of rasa. Sometimes it can be just behavior, good behavior, which can open up the channels. Spiritual people, just by their behavior, get the benefit of rasayana. But there are also plants that are considered to be having the property of rasayana. Plants like Nelly, Phyllanthus emblica, plants like dalim, the pomegranate, several species are there. And how to use them, these are all wellness-related, health-related strategies. The entire theory of rasayana is towards health. It is not really for management of disease. Then, of course, you have these remarkable strategies in Ayurveda, which are called the panchakarmas, for shodhan. There are conditions which you cannot treat with drugs. You first have to detoxify the body through what are called the panchakarmas, the 5 karmas. And the panchakarmas is a very, very deep subject. It can go right up to what we call kaya kalpa. In 1986, I had the opportunity in Kerala to meet a very great Vaidyan, Vaidya Madham. He was one of the Ashta Moose, the 8 families of mooses, who were very well known in Kerala for as the greatest physicians that Kerala has produced, the Ashta Moose families. And I had the opportunity to meet Vaidya Madam, and he narrated to me how he had used a very advanced procedure of Panchakarma, what is called Kaya Kalpa, to cure a leprosy patient who recovered, the fingernails which were affected due to leprosy. He also narrated the case of a person beyond the age of 50 who, after the treatment, new hair came, all the skeletal tissues had transformed, had rejuvenated. Now, this is something very, very amazing. I mean, we are talking of stem cell research. Stem cells are meant to repair, renew body tissues, but no one talks of stem cell for completely rejuvenating the body. You cannot rejuvenate skeletal tissues through any form of stem cell therapy. Now, all this is available in advanced. To understand health effectively, it is necessary to get rid of certain myths that are today surrounding strategies for healthcare. The first is a myth which has been borrowed from industrial culture, which is about standard healthcare, standard care, a standard diet, and standard meaning uniform. So for different conditions, you have uniform protocols for treating them. In food, people these days prescribe certain standard diets, for example, ketone diet, or a particular proportion of proteins or carbohydrates or fats or minerals and so on and so forth, a uniform formula. Now, the fact is that there is so much of variability in human beings. It's the design of nature, this variability. There's so much of variability that any uniform approach to health is bound to be imprecise, because uniformity cannot deal with variability. Where can we observe this variability? Variability in what are called the phenotypes, the prakritis. Every individual can be classified into a particular prakriti type, a phenotype. And in modern medicine or in modern biology, we also now have genotypes. It so happens that research has shown that underlying the phenotypes are unique genotypes. So by the fact of there being phenotypes and genotypes, that's the first place to observe variability. Not everyone has the same genotype or the same phenotype. Because of this variability of the phenotype, of the prakriti, or of the genotype, there is variation in all our physiological and metabolic systems. We don't have the same kind of physiology or the same calibration of our metabolism. And of course, the age factor is there, which is also variable. These are the intrinsic factors where you can observe variability. A disease condition itself is variable. It depends on the intensity of the disease. It depends on the stage of the disease. Even if we suffer from the same disease, there will be a variability due to its intensity and due to its stage. Variability also comes as a result of extrinsic factors that influence an individual. The seasons, there is a big change that happens in the body physiology and metabolism in different seasons. It depends on the habitat in which we live. You wouldn't treat a person living in Norway in a cold climate the same way for the same condition as you would treat someone living in a hot, humid place like Chennai. It depends on the habitat. Also, of course, there is the biorhythms. We call it between 2 and 6 is what we call the Vatkal. Between 6 and 10 is the Kafakala. Between 10 and 2 is the Pittakala. So during the day, there are biorhythms that vary. So all this kind of variability is available. And therefore, what I'm trying to put across is that individualization of healthcare is necessary for health. If you want a healthy world, we will have to really individualize, ideally, healthcare interventions. Now, this is a very difficult task. In Ayurveda, what we do standardize is not uniform protocols, but we know the factors that have to be taken into account for diagnosis, for treatment, and in modern language, we develop what you might call algorithms. So we treat by algorithms, not by uniformity. The algorithm will bring in the variability, will accept the variability. And you can apply an algorithm for a particular condition, but its application can be individualized. Now, which health system should we follow? I can see from the experience of the GRACE Endowment, GRACE program, that there is a leaning towards Indian systems. And I think rightly so. If you want any interventions related to wellness, then you are really looking at Ayurveda and yoga, because as I've already explained, there is no substantive understanding of wellness in biomedicine. If you're looking for diagnosis, then if you want to observe systemic changes in the human biology, then you are looking at Ayurveda, because it has dosh vichar, which is a systemic approach of understanding the biological changes. If you want to observe molecular changes, then you have modern pathology. And you can use both of them. They'll give you different views of the changes that are taking place in your body. If you have an emergency or an acute condition, there is no doubt that you need bioactive molecules. You need single molecules. The anesthesia is derived from the cannabis plant, but you can give a kilo of cannabis and you won't get the anesthetic effect that you will get from a bioactive molecule that is derived from the plant, morphine and its analogs. If you're looking for surgery, although India gifted surgery to the world and surgery originated in India, due to various reasons, surgery has weakened in India, and today the place for surgical interventions is really allopathy. If you're looking for non-communicable diseases, for chronic conditions, once again, it is really Ayurveda and yoga. You will not find effective solutions for non-communicable diseases, for chronic conditions in Western medicine. The challenge of the 21st century for healthcare for all is mass personalization of healthcare, mass personalization. At an individual level, I can meet L. Mahadevan, a very good physician, or physicians like him, and he will personalize the treatment to my needs. But that is at an individual level. Challenge for health for all is mass personalization. How can you do mass scale personalization? Today in Western medicine, they are understanding this requirement because they are accepting at the frontiers of medicine not really in medical practice, regular medical practice. They are accepting the requirement of personalization. And so you have fields like in food, you have the field of nutrigenomics. So nutrigenomics is a field which is saying food and nutrition has to be customized to your genetic makeup. It's an emerging field. It's a long way from practical application. In drugs, they're saying the same drug doesn't work on everybody, even for the same condition. And so there is a field called pharmacogenomics, and that is also heading towards individualization. There are wearable technologies that can, monitor individuals, and you use the data from these wearable technologies for interventions. These are the moves towards mass personalization. But really, I believe that comprehensive solutions for mass personalization will come from what I call a transdisciplinary approach. An approach that combines knowledge from different health systems. I don't think that biomedicine has sufficient understanding of variability to really construct a strategy for mass personalization. Let me quickly now give you 3 examples of programs for health that can revolutionize the whole agenda of mass personalization. The first example, and I'm just outlining a futuristic idea. The first example is, can we create for every individual an Aadhaar card? You've heard of the Aadhaar card. That's for biometrics, that's for your identity. I'm talking about for your food identity, a Aadhaar card, because food has to be individualized, has to be customized. Now, in our university, we are trying to develop a database that combines food chemistry. Now, food chemistry, how much proteins, carbohydrates, fats, and so on and so forth are there in every food ingredient, is totally insufficient for the purpose of nutrition. Food chemistry does not translate into nutrition. Just because a particular food has a certain proportion of proteins, carbohydrates, fats, as found out in a laboratory, that's what food chemistry is about. It's in vitro, outside the body. When different individuals consume the food, it is metabolized differently. Different physiologies assimilated differently. And so food chemistry is wholly inadequate for deciding on nutrition. But today, the strategies of ketone diet and all assume that food chemistry will translate into nutrition. No, it won't. It will vary from individual to individual. So therefore, we are developing a database which has the food chemistry of ingredients, and it is combined with the Ayurvedic Dravya Gun Shastra, the food pharmacology, which is a very unique kind of a knowledge. If you look at the chemistry of urad dal and the chemistry of moong dal, you can look up the NIN database on this, it's in public domain. You will find that the chemistry of urad and moong are similar. And if you assume, therefore, that I can substitute one for the other, you will realize your mistake very soon. Because if you start consuming urad dal on a daily basis, you will get hyperacidity, you'll get flatulence, you'll get indigestion. If you consume moong dal on a daily basis, nothing will happen to you. You can consume it all your life. It's a nitya hit ahar. So food chemistry cannot decide. So we are building a database with food chemistry, with biochemistry, with Ayurvedic Dravya Gun Shastra. You will need artificial intelligence and machine learning to do this mass personalization. And you can actually realize in the next 2 or 3 years, can realize and actualize the concept of an Aadhaar card, which will allow mass personalization of food. Of course, we must see that Giridhar's vision of organic food is also brought into the picture. I mean, there's no use eating food that is cultivated in the manner in which it is these days. You do need food which is cultivated in an organic and healthy way. In Chennai, once again, you have a very good organization, the Center for Indian Knowledge Systems, led by Dr. A.V. Balasubramaniam and Vijay Lakshmi, who have been working relentlessly for the last 25 years with farmers all over Tamil Nadu to produce organic food. The second idea that I would quickly like to put across to you is about a wellness score. Today, we are familiar with the master health checkup. That tells you your proneness to disease. Ayurveda can develop, along with biology, a program for a wellness score, which looks at what is the state of samadosha, samadhatu, samagni, samamalakriya, prasanindriya, manasatman, the definition of swasthya. You can measure this qualitatively. You can build biomarkers for samadosha, dhatu, agni, etc. And thus, India can take the lead in wellness, in healthy life, by producing a wellness score, not a disease proneness score, which is what the Master Health Checkup is about. This is the second idea that can really contribute globally to the agenda of health for all. A third idea, and this is the last part of my talk, is about early detection of diseases. You have this concept in Ayurveda called Shad Kriya Kal. Shad Kriya Kal talks of the progression of diseases. What makes a healthy cell become a disease cell? Modern biology, we know the characteristics of healthy cell, we know the characteristics of disease cells, but we don't know the pathway of progression. How does a healthy cell become a disease cell? In Ayurveda, it says a healthy cell becomes a disease cell through 6 stages, Shad Kriya Kal. Now, this is a very, very amazing kind of a concept that you can detect a disease 6 stages before it finally manifests, because it fully manifests only in the 6th stage, the Shad Kriya. There are 6 stages. Now, if you combine molecular biology and the theory of Shad Kriya Kal, you could develop early detection technology, early detection strategy, detecting disease. And I'll end my talk here. I hope I have kept to the time of 30 minutes that was given to me. These are 3 ideas: Ahar card, wellness score, early detection, and the wellness score, which can really contribute to Giridhar's vision of, health for all, a healthy society. Thank you very much.